I wasn't always a stories writer. I was an ad copywriter for many years. And I was in New York City, and I was doing that whole thing, writing TV commercials for the big agencies back there. And then I came out to California, and I was asked to write a story by this one organization. And I said, oh, well, okay, I'll give that a try, And I wrote the story, and they posted it online. And what happened next was something that rather changed my life, in that the emotional letting that followed storytelling was something I had never experienced before. There was people who cried by the story I wrote. People came from all around the world to read this doggone story. And there were tears that followed storytelling, and it was really a shocker to me. It turned out that I ended up just writing stories. Like the company I was with said, okay, don't do our marketing writing anymore. If this is what it takes to get people on our website, just write stories, because people are coming. So I ended up writing a lot of stories. So anyways, and it was just a remarkable time of success. Not that I was making money, it's just that things were just really happening, and it was a big change for me. And so I was at this one event one afternoon, and there were, I was at a big table, and there were people on my left who I knew and people on my right who I did not know, sitting next to this woman. And there, she was talking in that direction. I was talking in this direction. Ultimately, she stopped me and she said, what do you do? And I told her what I did, that I wrote these stories. And as soon as I said I wrote these stories, she started crying. And I initially thought that I had said something wrong, or I was like, are you okay? What happened? And she said, you're the one who wrote the story about the man who had the son who had a heroin addiction and died and all that kind of. I said, yes, I did. And she said, well, my husband's dealing with the same thing. And she went on and on. But the amazing thing was, is that I had written that story about 2 months prior, and she had read it about 2 months prior. And I learned that day that story stayed underneath the surface, and it was hot to the touch for this woman. I had just mentioned that I wrote it. We did not go over it. She did not have it handy to read. She just simply remembered about it, and it burst her into tears. I was just shocked by that. And I thought to myself, I've got to find out exactly what's going on with this. If I'm writing stories for a living, why do they mean so much to people? So I stopped for a bit and I did some research. And here's what I found out. The human mind and a story are the perfect match. We have to have stories. We live our lives by stories. We are the perfect receivers and givers of stories. We teach our kids through stories. We make sense of our lives through stories. Stories mean so much to us that our minds tell us stories in the middle of the night, as if it's working something out in our brains, and it is, and in our emotions. I once saw a scan of a brain while it was watching, reading, listening to a story. And the entire right side of the brain had lit up. All the electricity was going through the right side of the brain. It was fully engaged. On the right side of the brain are things like poetry and lyrics and creativity and abandon and color and music. All these things over here where there's a lot of passion going on. On the left side are things we need, like organization and language and sorting and numbers and things like that over here. But on the right side is where there's a lot of passion that happens. Quick story: one morning I was at a meeting where I had been invited to this network group, and I like those things, so I went. And now this particular one, they gave 3 people an opportunity to stand up and say a little something about themselves. So here's how it went. So this one guy gets up, he says, "Hi, I'm Jim with Jim's Gym. Hey, come on in right now. You got to see our place. We've got all the rowers, and we got the machines, and we got the weights, and we got classes till 12, and it looks really beautiful in there. We got people who can help you. We're going to help you with your weight, get it down, get you in shape. We got a new showers, and everything's beautiful. You got to come and see it. Come see me now, and I'll give you 10% off on your membership. And I'd love to show you around, and it's really great. And thanks very much. My name's Jim with Jim's Gym. See you soon. Thank you." He sat down, light applause. Next guy stand up and said, "Hi, I'm John with ABC Solar. We'll get in and get out. We're quick. We'll put those things up on your roof. You'll never know we're there. We're clean. We're going to get you off the grid. We're going to lower your electric bill. And you're just going to love your experience with us. And you're going to just be so glad you did. So come and see me and I'll give you a couple of percentages off or whatever he said, 10% off. And just come see me today. And I'm John with ABC Solar. And he sat down, light applause. And a woman got up, very demure, soft-spoken, rather small. She said, "Hi, my name is Sharon. I was 6 years old when my mom and dad came running down the hall and grabbed me and my sister and pulled us out to the front of our street where we watched our house burn down. And it was devastating. Soon after, my dad pulled up a trailer onto our lot and we lived there. And I remember this man came up to the house and my dad went out in front and met him and talked with him. And he shook his hand when he left. And I said, who was that, Daddy? And he said, that was our insurance agent. And he's going to get us our house back. Well, sure enough, in time, men showed up on our lot. There was a lot of hammering and sawing and a lot of sound and noise, and things were going up and the house was being built. And sure enough, 3 months later, the house was done and it was time to move in, and it was a glorious day. It was the most exciting day of my life. We moved all our stuff in. House was better than before. And it was just so exciting that we had our house back. And that same man that came before, came again. And my dad met him, talked to them, shook his hand. This time he gave him a hug. And I thought to myself, when I get older, I'm going to be an insurance agent. So my name is Sharon. And if you want somebody who really cares, an insurance agent who really cares, I hope you'll give me a call. And she sat down. And the place erupted into applause with whoops and whoops and whoos and all kinds of things that everybody figured out. Everybody knew we had just been through a little experience that meant something to each of us. We didn't have somebody just reading off a list of things. It was somebody who took us into her world and into an experience. And I don't think any of us there would ever forget how it meant to be with her and listen to that story. So much so that the truth about the whole matter is, I don't remember what those two guys said at all. I had to make it up just to have them be a part of this story. I remembered her, and I imagine those people do too. And I imagine it's possible you will still remember what it was that Sharon went through to become an insurance agent and how much she cared and why she cared. Point number one is that the tentacles of a story reach really, really deep. If you want to own real estate in someone's brain, tell them a story. I was on my way home from work one day. I got off the subway in New York City. I was on my way home, and I walked down a street that I hadn't before. And I came across a guitar store. I love guitars. I play the guitar. I think they're all really cool. It's amazing though. You go to guitar stores and they all kind of basically are the same from thing to thing, acoustic guitars. But I opened the doors that day and I saw this one guitar. It was a wine-colored guitar, a small little dark wine, and with no ornateness at all. There was no inlay. There was no abalone. There was no gold. There was no silver. He just left it alone, as if this guitar is beautiful. I'm leaving it alone. And I was like, wow. That is the most beautiful guitar I think I've ever seen. And it's just so simple, And I was looking at it, and there was a price tag hanging from it. And I thought, I'm not going to turn it around to see what the price is because I can't afford it. If it costs $25, I can't afford it. My wife and I were dead broke. We just moved to the city. So it wasn't going to do me any good to turn the price tag over and look at the price tag. It was, there was no way I was going to get it. I can't get it. She'd kill me. So I didn't do that. But as I was standing there looking at it, there's a guy who worked there, and he said, beautiful, right? I said, yes, it is. That is so beautiful. He goes, yeah, it's my favorite guitar in the entire place. I said, that is incredible. He goes, you know about it? Favia guitar? I said, no, I've never heard of that guitar. He goes, yeah. He goes, it was a guitar maker in Spain generations ago in Spain. And he made guitars and handed them down the business to his sons and his grandsons. And then the very final grandson, who made the guitars in Spain, decided he was going to come to Brooklyn and try it here. So he came to Brooklyn, tried it. It was in the 50s. So it was tough going because in the 50s was all the electric guitar craze. And in the 60s, so he made a go of it, and he didn't quite work out. Closed the shop like around 1970 or so. He said, but anyways, he made beautiful guitars. And that's a 61. I thought, That's a 61. I'm a 61. And he's from Spain. My family's from Spain. You know, I was connecting. And suddenly that price tag's like, oh no, I gotta see how much this thing costs, you know? And I reached up thinking this is a mistake, you know, and I turned that thing over, $500. Ugh, there's no way I could get for $500, but the story, you know? So on that day, when I left that guitar store that day with my Favia guitar in my hand, which I have here.
Yay.
I knew something had happened because I was somebody who walked in that store with no ability, no interest, no desire, nothing to get a guitar. And suddenly there I was walking down the street with my guitar and $500 on that plastic. And I have it today. The story grabbed me, you know, there was nothing I could do. I mean, not there was nothing I could do, but it grabbed my heart and soul so deeply that it made me do something that I absolutely should not have ever done. There was this guy who had this this website or this, he did this thing, and I don't know if he did it for a joke or if he did it to be mean or if he did it to prove a point, but what he did was he put out on eBay these items that he was selling and people were making bids on, and he included a story with them. Just these simple little items. And he ultimately included that he sold them for like $27, $35, $40. Those were the ultimate bid. You know, and there was a pot, and it was it had like a story attached, and it was this pot that was found in front of this lady's house, and it was by her lake that was right in front of her house, and it was in the mud, and it was cleaned off, and it was probably 200 years old or whatever it was, you know. And he had all these stories attached to these things and how much they were when they sold. And then later he put up what it was that he bought them for at a garage sale. He bought them all for $1 or less. In other words, they had no value, but when people saw that there was a story attached, all of the value went through the roof, and people were paying 500 times the amount that it was really worth just to get the story. Point number 2 is that a story adds value. When you are making your presentation, when you're leaving your leaflets, your pamphlets, wherever it is that you have your communication, your marketing. I'm not a person who says that you should lead with a story, that everything should be about a story. I'm saying that I really think that you should consider storytelling as a part of your marketing mix, because if you really want to get to someone's brain and really own a piece of real estate in the brain and increase the value of everything that you offer, consider a story. It is a foolproof way to make your way in. Now, here is how a story, the trajectory of a story that you can follow. A story that you can bring from your life or your business that is something that goes from small to large, an idea to a product. Something that was chaotic that you made into control. It moves from problem to solution. It's this transformation where something goes from something to something else, you know, but it has trouble. There's trouble that gets in the way, and you find a way to get around or through or under or whatever. But that is the trajectory. It even works with people who, I didn't have a career, I didn't know what to do. I graduated from college, I had no idea what to do with my degree, but then I had an idea. And I followed this idea, and people came against it, and it wasn't going to work, and I didn't have the money, whatever it was, but I made it through. All that kind of stuff, people just like glom onto. We connect to stories because we are all in the middle of our own story, and we want to see how you got it done. So we're going to connect, we're going to care, and we're going to remember. I want to leave you with this. If you have any concern as to like, well, I really don't get how the story works, you know, what's the best kind of story? This is a perfect template for a story. I found a video of a guy named, or his company, his business called J. Allen Pipes. Just a J, and then Allen, A-L-A-N, Pipes. And on his website, on his channel on YouTube, he's got 2 videos. One is called An Artisan Discovered, and one is called The Birth of a Pipe. And he starts off these videos with a crude piece of wood, and he draws on them, and he starts using his machinery that sometimes inflict much damage on his piece of wood and break it and ruin it and all kinds of stuff. It becomes its trouble, right? But in the process, he makes these pieces of crude wood into the most beautiful pipes you have ever seen. They are spectacular. You cannot believe the color and the detail and the creativity with little die cuts and the whole thing. It is spectacular. And you see the transformation, which is what we're really all about. What we'd like is transformation, you know, from the rugged to the spectacular. If you look at those videos, the birth of a pipe and an artisan discovered, you'll get the feeling. And you think to yourself, okay, that I'll use that to be my story to transform in that way. Last thing, I watched this one woman, these two women had a story, at a website. They had this little store and they had a website. I said, oh, I like your business. You know, they said, well, go onto our website. Sure. Okay. So I looked on the website, and on the website was a video, and it said, our story. I went, all right, love it. Click on the story. And it said, hi, we're going to tell you the story of our company. The story is all of our women here all of our employees are women. And so they talked to the different women about and I thought that was a nice video, but it wasn't a story. If you really want it to capture us, you got to go through that process of telling the story of something small to something big, a goal met with trouble in between. If you sit at a party, or if you listen to somebody at a keynote speaker or what have you, they always start with a problem, right? There's no one who talks about a story who went from good to good. It's always from this was the problem and it got good. I think that is the only trajectory. The only thing you need to keep in mind is the crude block of wood. We're all starting with a block of wood. Even when a guy, you're with family and they're telling a story and someone sits down and they tell you a story, they launch in a story, I guarantee you, listen for it. It's going to be, I went to the store and I had this dude tell me, suddenly there was a problem and he was going to get around. Everybody's story starts with a problem, and that's how you get it off the ground and it takes flight, is through a problem and how you work through the problem. It doesn't have to have a great ending, but you got to work through the problem, and that's the process everybody wants to hear. So if you can just sort of take your black and white, your list, and you add on a problem and give us a little bit of what it took to get past the problem, and the person who was a difficult guy, or the day that didn't go good, or the tire that went flat, you're in. A friend was in he called me after having just walked through a cemetery visiting his grandmother the grave. And he was very sad. And I said, I know you miss your grandmother. What are you sad about? He goes, it's really not so much my grandmother. He goes, I looked through all of the cemetery, the headstones, and I realized that everybody's stories of all those people, they died with them. All those stories, all that history and everything, all those experiences of these people coming to America and all that, they all died with them. And what I thought initially was that I was going to sort of market myself to older folks who would want to tell the stories. It's really not the case. It's usually the kids of the older folks who want to pool their money together and say, my grandparents and my kids don't know each other. And we need to spread that and learn about each other so my kids can have that in their background to take with them as they go forward and leave that for their kids, that kind of thing. So that's really where most—
Dave, I am absolutely inspired by you, your energy, who you are. I'm sure everyone feels this way. I'm blown away by you today, and I have epiphanies and the way you lean into the story and the camera. And I realize that a lot of us tell stories and we hold back for some social behavior, or what you've shown me today is when you have a story, you got to go for it, man. You got to just lean in like childlike and just go for it. I mean, I have absolutely loved listening to you. Absolutely loved listening to this.
What a super astute thing to say, because I have learned that myself. I am not usually a gregarious person or whatever. I have found that stories don't miss. Like if you're at a party or whatever and you decide to tell a story, if you tell it with enthusiasm and a little bit of an ability that goes outside yourself and your own personality, people are along for the ride. I promise you that nobody looks and says, oh, look at her, or look at him, or what's he doing, or whatever. If you hit the right notes, which is to tell that transformation, it does not miss. You will capture people. They will remember you. They will, root for you. That is exactly right, Don. if you stand on in and you just step up to the moment that a story is important, and I'm going to embody this thing to communicate to these people, you will not miss. You're absolutely right.
Let's be more like Dave Franco from now on.